about to begin. Click and record on things.
It's so exciting.
That's right, it is exciting. Okay. Wow, hey there. Ooh, there's my lovely wife, Z.
Hi.
Getting her green thumb in today, let me tell you. So,
I liked that music you were playing.
Oh, thanks. I
before.
play it for everything.
I know. It's so fun and fancy free.
Okay. Are you ready for the official start? Ooh, goodness.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, here we go. Okay, and ready to clap with me. 3, 2, 1. Boom.
Yay.
Puppet Parent Podcast, episode 11. Pew.
Coming at you.
That's right. How's it going, everybody? My name is Chad.
My name is Z. Hi.
That's right. We're married, and we're parents.
True
That
story.
means we pushed out some kids. You pushed out some kids.
Yes.
I was just cheering. I was like, go, Z, go. Go, Z, go.
And then I
you're
was like,
don't touch me. Ah. But it's true.
yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is there a way for us to be able to see comments if people are
Yeah,
commenting?
if you are commenting, you will they will show up on the screen over there.
But you know what won't show up is if somebody's watching, and I like to know who's watching. Can you?
All right. I will bring out my
Thank you.
phone.
Thanks.
Yeah. Oh.
That's why usually mine is out, but mine is dead right now. It's charging. It's coming back to life.
My
But,
goodness. Wow.
oh,
We were delayed back in Facebook land. Anyway, so
Awkward.
this week we have spent 7 full working days on the farm. Now, more like out in the country, out in Western New York.
Yeah.
We moved from our lovely home in Astoria, Queens, right
Temporarily.
on the cusp of the protests. It was like we stayed indoors, basically outside of laundry runs for 80 days straight, and then we moved out because we don't want to be stuck inside in New York City, which is what everybody needs to do during the hot summer months. And we wanted to come out to the country to let our boys run free in the wilderness, and they have been.
Yeah.
We've been working really hard to get this studio up and running. See, and I hear a comment already. Let's see, it's our friend. It's Uncle Tom.
Oh, hi, Uncle Tom.
Hi.
Hi.
But
I'm so glad that you're tuning in.
we couldn't be inside our very hot New York City apartment during the summer, running the air conditioning and recording at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So all of our streaming shows, we'd have to shut off the air conditioning and sweat like crazy in the hottest room in our tiny little hot box of an apartment. So everything just made sense to move out. And then, of course, as soon as we did move out, the international movement has finally
Really took
caught
hold.
on.
Yeah.
And the media is with us this time, unlike Occupy. The media is all about these protests.
We feel very much aligned with this movement and have been for a few years now. When you say with us, like us, with us, the collective us.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, the royal we.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah. So, but we're not here forever. We're here temporarily. When
Yeah.
we say that we moved just for now.
It's true.
And
So we'll be summering in our summer residency, and we're so thankful to the Springville Centers for the Arts for bringing us out,
Yes.
to giving us studio space. We're in this beautiful storage area / office that they to the credits, Seth and Tracy and Jerry moved everything out of. Whatever used to be here is mostly gone. There used to be a pre-K next door in the rest of the space. We're just in the back office.
there will be again someday.
Who knows? Western New
Yeah.
York is in a totally different phase. So probably sooner than New York City, although who knows? New York City is supposed to open up in different ways tomorrow.
Yeah, I know. Phase
Yeah.
1 tomorrow.
Phase 1.
I think so. Yeah.
Yep.
But it's definitely been a whirlwind of a week. Coming out here, I drove out with our stuff on Friday. We did one car ride full with all of the puppet shows and our stages, and that's just one car full of everything. And then dropped everything off, looked at the space on Saturday, drove back on Saturday night. Then Sunday we packed all day. Then we left on Monday morning, June 1st, and came out here for the summer. Hopefully we'll get to go back in the fall. And I mean, we would want to go back in the fall, but the only reason we wouldn't is if things didn't seem to be getting better. So
and things are looking up.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
which is great. We're hoping like
cautiously optimistic.
with all like I was talking to a teacher today, a teacher out in I think New Jersey or even Florida. I think we're all just looking at September. Like I think the whole nation of parents are looking at September and then like, okay, all right, we got the summer months to get ready. You know, like Asian schools are already back in session. They have systems in place. They have plans.
Yep.
And I'm just like, all right, let's get those plans. Hose me down with disinfectants. Spray down my puppet stage. You know, do what you got to do. Let us get back into these spaces safely. You know, so that the kids can keep learning, so our kids can go back into their school, which they love, and so that all the performing artists that work that kind of market can go back into.
Yeah. We have a question.
Yes, the question.
Did you have the Tetris the car like crazy to fit all the puppet stuff in?
Yeah, basically. And what was terrible was we do like 15 different shows. We could fit 14 of them in. Like one of them we just had to leave behind. We're just like, no, actually two of them we had to leave behind. It was just not happening.
Yeah.
So once we got it all in there, it was perfect. Kissed Z on the cheek. Just said, all right, goodbye.
Okay,
see you later.
See you tomorrow night.
And I'd driven the car out of the garage that we rent very cheaply onto the streets. It's like, okay, car's running great.
Yeah.
We're good to go.
Yep.
And then as soon as
you
she's
left.
ready to go. Yeah,
I was like,
see you later.
you know how you mess with your phone for a minute to like put in the directions, find the audio book that you want to listen to, like, you know, bring up the people you're going to talk to on your trip, you know, text them, tell them you're about to leave. Then I go to start the car and it's like, and it won't start. It's like so close to starting. And you have to understand that the windows are still working. Right? The radio is still working. My phone is plugged in and charging. So I'm like, is it the battery? Could it be the battery?
It's the battery.
And it was the battery.
Yeah.
So then we had to call AAA. They had to come out and jump us. But it was fine. Actually, you know what was amazing is I grew up out here in Western New York. And when you call AAA out here, it's like at least an hour. Because somebody is in the middle of something and things just happen a little slower out here. And there's usually only one guy or girl who services an entire, you know, like region, right? Yeah. Exactly. But in New York City, there's a lot of people who work for AAA. So the few times we've had to use AAA in the city, it is fast, it's speedy. So they came in like 20 minutes. It was great.
Yeah. No, the only terrible thing was that our car, which is a Chevy HHR 2010, the battery's not in the front.
Right.
It's in the back, like a Beetle or something.
In the trunk.
So I had to unpack everything
basically,
and then you have to like unscrew the base plate on like the bottom of our sports wagon to get at the battery so that they could jump it, and then we had to pack everything back in. So we're on the street, so I had to like put all of our puppet shows on the asphalt, which I would never do, never. And thank goodness it wasn't like a crazy hot day, but it's just like I don't need the grime of New York City on our shows right now.
And I'm trying to not touch anything, you know, like, and there's nowhere to sit, so I just had to stand and wait. But luckily it didn't take that long, so it was actually not so bad. It's classic Z, best worst case scenario. I mean, it's classic. So it actually worked out just fine.
There are a lot of those this week who was like, well, that's terrible, but all right.
Well, it's fixable. It's fixable, though. Like, terrible, but fixable.
It's just going to take a lot more work than we expected.
Always. That's all. But, you know, you get results.
I guess.
Good things come. So, so we moved. We got the stuff out here, dropped the stuff off on Saturday, looked at the space. Everything's looking good. Then I came back, packed on Sunday. I know we already said this, and then we left on Monday. And on the drive out on Monday, it became very clear that the protests were happening. Like, I mean, I was very much in packing mode all weekend and like getting the move on. And I had listened to some NPR, but I was trying to really just focus on the things that needed to get done. I was kind of in just go mode. And so I wasn't as tuned into the news. Plus, I was talking to a lot of my friends on my drive and like where our lives were at and talking about what the summer was going to look like. And a few people had mentioned the protests to me, but I just was not plugged in like I normally am. Like if we had been home, I would have been so plugged into everything that was happening. But on Monday, on our drive out, it became so clear that things are really going down. And then we were feeling like just this feeling of, oh no, we're leaving. I mean, it's good that we're leaving, but also we want to be there for our city and for a movement that we have always believed in, like since its inception. And, I mean, I don't have it on today because I didn't pack it.
We'll get to why.
I didn't pack my Black Lives Matter T-shirt, but I was going to pack it, and then it ended up in the laundry, is what happened, and because I was wearing it, and then we didn't bring our laundry with us, so I guess I need to get another one.
Yeah.
But I've worn that shirt for years now around Astoria, Queens, where we live, and then around New York City. And whenever I wear it, I always know I'm inviting some kind of interaction, and that interaction can go either way. I've had people of color come up to me and say thank you for wearing that shirt, and I say thank you for saying something, or thank you for being awesome, or just you're welcome. Like sometimes you don't know what to say. But it's a nice thing. Sometimes I've gotten very nice comments, and sometimes I've had people lean out of their cars and yell obscenities at me while I'm walking with my kids. So
right, and it's like, I don't know. We had a discussion about, because a lot of people are saying right now, like, all right, well, you can't not talk to your kids about racism right now, and it feels like it's pretty clear if you take a step back, like, which side are you on? Are you on the good side or the bad side? Because it's clear, where the divide is, and it's like not from like a historical perspective where you're like, yeah, well, if you take a look at this presidency on a historical level, you will see that you were in the wrong or something. Like during the Bush years, it was all about like Bush and his people were like, well, history will be the judge of my decisions and stuff like that. No, it's clear that the evil racists in our society are wrong, and reform needs to happen, and reform is happening thanks to the protests. Protests are actually working. Anybody who says that protests don't work, you're full of crap, because they are working and they are affecting change right now. And all of the police departments' terrible actions, some let's say the police departments that still are beating protesters, like, we're filming you, and we're out there with our cameras. A little brother, strikes again. And there's been a lot of stories on social media that are about like, this is what's happening. This is what happened to me. This is like somebody died. Somebody got blinded. Why is the NYPD beating non-violent protesters? Why are they rounding them up and arresting them? Why? What? Just like these big questions. So within a week. The mayor of our city, who many people have criticized heavily during this entire situation, has said, yes, we're going to defund the NYPD by, I think he said like $100 or $100 million, which is amazing. And they're going to take a bigger look into practices of the NYPD. I remember in his first day of office, the police union got a ton of police officers at his speech to them to turn their backs on him.
Right.
So there's a lot of like political stuff inside the NYPD, which is interesting. A lot of people are saying that police unions are kind of like NRA for cops. It's not really a union.
Well, and I want to be clear and just say for a moment, I have friends who are police officers, and they are amazing people. And we don't dislike police officers. What we dislike, because police officers and fire department and ambulance, they are people of service, right? And when you do your job and you do it well, you are putting yourself at risk in a lot of cases, and we thank you, right, when you're doing it well. But when your bias takes hold in a way that makes it so that you are acting in a way that puts people people's lives at risk because you cannot contain your emotions, then we have a problem. And a lot of this comes from the top down, that people aren't being trained in their unconscious bias. And I've been having a lot of discussions with Chad's mom because I'm at Chad's parents' house and I stay up late and but it's been good because it makes me have to really clearly verbalize, like, what is going on? Like, what is it that people are fighting for? And it's like, she's very much of the ilk that everyone is equal, and why can't just everybody just see that? And I said, but that's not what's happening. What's happening is that when you're walking down the street and you see a large, tall black man walking behind you, you might suddenly start to feel a little uncomfortable and anxious in a way that you might not feel if it was a large white man walking behind you. What is that about? Why? That is that feeling. Think about that. Where did that come from? Because yes, you can say, I am not racist. Of course you can say it. Nobody wants to be racist unless you're like one of those people who wants to be a racist. Mm-hmm. But that is what unconscious bias is this feeling that comes up that we don't even recognize because we just feel, oh, well, of course I feel uncomfortable because there's a man behind me, but you feel more uncomfortable because of the color of his skin. And you would never admit that, but that is what's happening. And why is that happening? Why? So when we think about that, then it becomes a little bit more clear the types of things that we need to be addressing and then what the next steps are to address those things. And that is what the police department and all of these areas of service need to be working on. And also, we're in a space that is being given to us in a lot of ways by a religious organization, which we want to say thank you to. They're called Love Inc. And it's all of these Christian-based organizations from the area. And I also feel like we hung up a sign when we got here that said Black Lives Matter. We hung up another sign that said George Floyd mattered, say his name. Because I was just feeling very much like we have to be a part of the protest in some way. Like I can't not do it. And we've been doing so good about socially distancing for so long that I just don't feel like we can safely go out right now. And also we're in Springville. It's a very tiny little town. Nobody is doing a protest. And
it's a very homogenous town.
Right. Yes. It's a bunch of farmers, and their families, and it's small rural town life. Like that's how we grew up. So I just put the signs up, and one of the guys from Love Inc. came down to help us with the internet.
Oh, the director.
Oh, the director of Love Inc. came down to help us with the internet. We're trying to get all the internet set up. He saw the signs and he was like, "I like those signs,"
Yeah. So thank goodness, because we were kind of antsy about like. Well, we're kind of like guests. I don't want to put something up that somebody has a problem with, even though, like that's kind of the point of protesting. But it's like we don't want to get kicked out of this space right after we get here. That would kind of be counterproductive. So yeah, thank goodness, like a white rural Baptist minister was like, yeah, Black Lives Matter. And that to me is like, okay, if that can happen in the middle of like white rural America where they're blaring nationalistic country songs at Walmart, which made me want to puke. No, it was deeply disturbing.
Yeah.
But anyway, so if that can happen, then anything can happen. And it's Magic Hour, and the protests and the national conversation is about changing everything for the better. And my family, it's a law enforcement family. Like I've worked in corrections in many different aspects, and and a lot of our cousins too. Like we have some police officers, and I think that when it's your job, and a lot of my time at the Albany Training Academy for Corrections Officers was like a lot of teachers drilling it into new recruits, like don't be that guy that makes us all look bad, more thought has to be put into training and maybe retraining over the years, like a lot of people have to do. Like when we went into the New York Public Library system, we had to be trained in certain ways about, hey, don't ever be alone in a room with a child, no matter what.
Just not allowed.
Just not allowed.
It's one of the rules.
Yeah, it's called like 1-to-1 or something like that. There always has to be another adult present, no matter what. And like these are just like common sense things that we know. But I feel like, oh, what if we applied that to training for like police officers or people that just have a vested interest in creating community relations? Because as I just read, I think today, police officers are people's embodiments of what the state is or what the law is, like what your government is. Like that police officer in your community is it. So I want to listen to, I think BLM released, or many different factions of Black Lives Matter released demands and said like these are the 6 things that we want. I think it's important to listen. It's important to get fired up. But I'm not going to tell anybody how to protest. I'm not going to say, well, how dare they paint the streets in D.C. because that's not what we want. It's just a political, all this finger wagging just needs to stop. And let's just focus on listening and helping, because I feel like that a lot of decades of that led up to, another dead Black body. And we don't want any more. We don't want any more unnecessary deaths,
Yeah, exactly. It's about togetherness. It's about recognizing and having these discussions. And to circle back about the houses of worship just for a moment, my hope is that the leaders of houses of worship are having these kinds of discussions with their congregations, and that they are able to, because they are uncomfortable. People should feel uncomfortable talking about this, because if you're talking about it right, it is uncomfortable, because especially for us, because you have to look inward and really think about all the times that you might have been, done something or not done something that either created a more difficult situation or that didn't help somebody who was then presented with a more difficult situation because you didn't use your white privilege to help them.
Yeah,
So,
and it's a little bit, I feel like it's a little bit like recycling, like, what can I really do to help the planet, because, my tiny amount of recycling is not enough. The people with the power, like people in power who matter, especially police officers have a lot of power, need to be the ones who more than just us, like all the rest of us, yes, but police officers, law enforcement, and any of the other myriad of different jobs that directly affect communities of color, or minority groups, need to be more trained and more thinking about this, So it's great that we're having a national conversation. Back in the, I keep thinking about back to the Occupy protests, because there's so many different things happening now that remind me of like the last time there were huge protests in our city. It didn't go well for the protesters back then. The national media dismissed Occupy. They called them a bunch of like uppity, privileged, hippie college students. And to be fair, some of them were, but it doesn't matter who you are. If you have something that matters that you want to protest about, I feel like thankfully the mass media is not just dismissing this, that everybody's on board, everybody is showcasing the police brutality because it makes for good mass media, and that strengthens the message of the protest, like, hey, look, this guy just got tasered in the back today, and every time, so I feel like mass media is finally helping, and that's helping the national dialogue. And so, like, eventually, I mean, we've attempted a couple times, but eventually, like, we're going to have the conversation with our kids. Not the conversation that Black parents have with their kids, but
it's an ongoing conversation.
Yeah.
It's not just one conversation. It is an ongoing conversation about how you have to be looking out for your friends. But yes, everyone is equal, but everyone is not necessarily treated equal. And you need to be on the lookout for that. And you need to be the one to make sure that If you're getting some kind of special treatment and somebody else isn't, you flatten that. You make it a fair play field. I can't even think right now. I'm so tired. But it's. You know what I'm saying, though. Yeah. That we
listeners, you know what she's saying.
but it's not just one conversation; it's a lot of conversations. And we have some comments. I love that you're bringing up past protests because I feel like a lot of people and media seem to be acting like this is the first time people are protesting, and yet this is ongoing. Of course, but it's the first time that a whole lot of people really noticed and agreed that it was wrong.
Right.
Finally.
Like we don't have giant statues of corporate fat cats for people to tear down like Occupy. Occupy was about community. It was about saying like our economic systems are unfair and capitalism is terrible and we need a new system. We need a revolution. And suddenly everybody got on board, but then all the people in power totally ignored and dismissed and sent in thugs to beat them up, basically, which happened in every city. Oakland, I mean, there were deaths where police officers killed people, like where they were shooting tear gas at people, like at protesters, just like they're doing now. None of that still, I shouldn't say, it didn't have as much of an impact as they wanted. And eventually, all the little shanty towns of community that was brought together, which included a lot of homeless in each city, eventually was everything was torn down by their respective police departments, and the momentum that had been going was just kind of dissolved. The great thing about Occupy and the success of Occupy was that we still use the terms of Occupy today, like the terms that they started, like the 1%, the 99%.
Mic check.
Yeah, if you don't know how to mic check, it was one of the greatest gifts that the Occupy protesters gave to humanity.
But I think they learned that from earlier protest, groups as well.
I don't want to say there was
but they brought it back in a mainstream way, so that suddenly a whole new generation of protesters knew how to amplify without amplification.
Yeah. So back then, just like now. The NYPD, for whatever reason, decided to corral a bunch of peaceful protesters and trap them and then mass arrest them. And so it became dangerous going out to protest. It was like, well, we're probably going to get beaten up and or treated poorly and spend the night in jail. Is it worth it to us as parents? Because were we parents in Occupy? I actually don't think we were at the time, but it was like, how can we really have our voices known?
But I know that, for myself, I believe it was during the fall, wasn't it? And I think I was in the middle, or if it was the end of the summer, I was in the middle of prepping for a huge film festival. There was a lot going on, and I don't know, my job is just really, I have a job for the Jim Henson Foundation. I'm the foundation manager there. I work there 32 hours a week, right now remotely. Thank you so much, Cheryl Henson. It was just a very demanding job, and I supported in the different ways that we could. In fact, we had your cousins come out and stay with us.
That's right.
So that they could be a part of Occupy for a few days and go out to Zuccotti Park and just be a part of it. So we hosted some people.
I went out one night, but it was
we supported we continued to support the People's Puppets of Occupy Wall Street for years. Yeah.
And those are great people, and they learned a lot through that.
Somebody's asking what mic check is.
Oh, well, let's do a quick mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
And so what happens is one person says mic check. All the people who heard that say mic check. And then the person who said mic check then says the thing that they want to say, like, I believe. And then all the people around them say, I believe. And then it goes back again.
Next set and the next set and the next set.
It's a reverberation of sound within circles of people who can hear the initial sound.
So instead of just one person shouting and not being heard in a giant open air space, everybody is repeating and like in this mass
Yes.
repetition, so everybody can hear what you're saying.
It's a way to transmit information, especially like really important information, like the police will allow for us to stay, and then they would all repeat, the police
Yeah.
will allow for us to stay if we keep the sidewalks clear. If we keep the sidewalks clear, right? So that kind of information can be really important because that can make sure that your protest can maintain peacefully because you're disseminating the information that everybody needs to hear, and it's everybody quickly understands how to participate in that.
Right. So back then, it was the first time that I ever saw live stream protests. So it was kind of like you didn't have to go to see somebody's live stream, and there was a lot less live streaming at that time. You had to go onto like weird sites, and some people would just have like a laptop that they were holding with them,
Right.
or there'd be like one guy who was like a tech guy who had like a camera or something. You couldn't just live stream from
I
directly
think
from
it
your
was
phone.
on YouTube, though. I think it was happening on YouTube at that point.
A lot of them got shut down, so they had to go
Okay.
on to weird. There was like a lot of link
Okay.
sharing, like, hey, go to this weird site like Dailymotion, I
Right,
think,
right.
at the time.
We had another, Riobina Pulfis says the pandemic is a huge factor. In the past,
Yeah.
people had to get back to work. Exactly. Well, and there's a lot of frustration in general, and I think a lot of those emotions got channeled. But okay, because you know what? This is for a good cause. Because if it means that we are finally acknowledging a systemic issue that we can make better for the next generation and the generation after that, then yeah, okay, let's do it. But I don't want more people to get sick, and that's of course like one of my biggest fears this whole time has been us getting sick, people we love getting sick. We don't want anybody getting sick. I mean, you just don't know what's going to happen. It's still so scary. We found out today that New York City is opening up tomorrow, and gently opening up. But still, it's I get nervous thinking about it because I feel like everything was just looking so good. Let's not risk it. I'm more safety girl, like risk averse when it comes to this because. There's still no vaccine. There's still no proven treatment. Like,
They're still learning things about this, and there's learning things about the long-term effects. Like some of our friends have been affected for months, and like people don't know why. Like why are people's lungs permanently scarred? Why do people have like a bigger risk for like blood clots and just dying? So it's
we don't know.
2020. It's just like, what's happening this week?
Man, we thought 2016 was a dumpster fire. Nope, it's 2020.
Well,
2020.
2016, the seeds of this dumpster fire were planted,
It was like flint and steel, man.
and now you reap what you sow, right? So it's 3 years later into the Trump presidency, and 3 years of an inept federal government, the most corrupt, lying government in our modern times. I don't know if Nixon could even come close.
And the fact that the president said, and then I want to talk about other things eventually.
Anything he says.
Like the George Floyd would be happy.
Oh,
that he'd be
guy.
happy. Oh my God. I wanted to throw like things at the television, and I never am like that. I was so angry. I had to leave the room. I was so like angry. Like how could he possibly say that? It's so disrespectful on so many levels. Oh my God.
The guy's a moron.
He is a moron. He's horrible.
Well, I'm hoping that the next president will just be like, hey, guess what, guys? We're just pushing the reset button on all of our important policies back to 2016.
What do you call that? Like you retcon? Can we retcon?
No, retcon would be like the people who voted for this president being like, I actually didn't vote for him. That would be a retcon.
Okay.
Yeah, this
you can't
is a
rewrite
we want a
history.
reset. We
Yeah.
want a reset button. One time, Hillary Clinton, when she was the State Department's chair or
Yes.
cabinet member or whatever,
Oh, I remember this.
had a reset
She was
button
the Secretary
in
of
Russian.
State.
Thank you.
Secretary
and
of
went
State.
to Putin and we were like, look, we want to reset our relations. And we wrote reset on the button in Russian. And he said, it actually says overcharge.
Oh no!
Like, oops. Oh well.
no.
But she laughed it off. Back then, that was a scandal. Remember when scandals were like nothing? It wasn't like a national emergency where president would just, destroy peaceful protesters for a weird photo op that everybody condemned. Like
Oh my God, that was
everybody condemned.
horrible. Horrible.
So,
Ugh.
you remember when Australia was on fire? Remember that month? It feels like
God,
nothing now. It's like,
everything is just a mess.
remember we almost went to war with Iran way earlier in the
That
year.
was this year.
Yeah, that was this year. It feels like when was that? It's like how many
All right.
crises can we handle?
Well, let's talk about some things that happened this week with our puppetry company.
So all that stuff is way more important,
It is.
and I hope
And-
that's
but
yes.
there's a segue here. There's a segue here.
Segue.
I want a segue. So we drove here on Monday. Tuesday, we are setting up. We did the schoolwork with the boys in the morning. We come into our new space. We're trying to set up. Chad's freaking out because the internet's not working. We're taking
The one thing we needed in order to do anything was stable internet, and it
Didn't work.
happening.
Yeah.
We didn't know why.
Chad is taking deep breaths at this point.
That was
on
the moment
Tuesday.
where my blood was. You ever remember the moment where like blood's like you could feel the blood pulsating in your skull?
Yep.
It's like bup, 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 bup,
Okay.
bup, and you're just like, ugh.
That makes sense because you seemed really like frustrated. So.
I think it was the first time I verbalized to anybody because I'm down here alone. The first time anybody asked me about it, I was having to say those words made it extra like spicy.
Well, let me tell you what happened. We have some really amazing employees. We have these performing partners, Jenny Hahn, Christina Rodriguez, and Julia Darden, and they have been holding down the fort for Wonder Spark Puppets for the last few days while we were in the midst of this huge transition from New York City to rural America. And so which we love, and we're so happy to be here. Like
New York
here,
City and
heart hands.
rural America.
Well, I'm so happy to be here, but it is different.
No,
it is very
it's
different.
Very different. But we grew up here, so we knew.
Well, but I have not lived here. I have not lived in. Listen, I've never lived in this town, and I haven't lived in Western New York since I was 18.
Well,
So
you haven't lived until you've been to the gun store next to Walmart.
no, but you know what's so funny is that this taxidermy store.
Yes.
So listen, we have bought things online from that taxidermy
I
store.
know.
we made a wolf once, and I got like a fake wolf nose
Mm-hmm.
and a little fox nose from them. So we have bought things from them.
We supported the gun store.
I don't think of them as a gun store. I think of them as a taxidermy store.
I mean, they are also a gun buyback store.
Okay,
So
well.
there's that.
Anyway, let me tell you what happened on Tuesday. So our performing partners who have been doing amazing things,
Yes.
they contacted us and said, hey, we really don't think it would be right for us to do a DIY puppet workshop on Tuesday because of everything that's
Or
going on
when-
with the protests.
or
This was
Wednesday.
Tuesday. No, it was Tuesday.
Okay.
And then, Chad and I talked about it, and then I'm talking to them about it on the phone, and then as I'm talking to them on the phone, I'm starting to be able to get signal on my phone because out here, that is also hard to come by. And I, getting signal, and I'm on Facebook finally again after a few days of not being on Facebook, and I see, oh my gosh, today is Blackout Tuesday. Oh, it's Blackout Tuesday. And then I got an email from my boss about Blackout Tuesday. And then I checked my inbox finally because I hadn't been able to do that. And I see all these emails from different organizations acknowledging Blackout Tuesday. And I'm like, oh, you guys want to do Blackout Tuesday? Well, yes, of course Wonder Spark wants to do Blackout Tuesday. I mean, we were already talking about ways that we would acknowledge Black Lives Matter anyways. But yes, we'll do Blackout Tuesday. And yes, let's think about how we can further support this movement. So instead of doing our workshop that day at 4 p.m. on Tuesday, instead we broadcast live an image that said that we were honoring Blackout Tuesday and that we as a company were going to reflect and assess ways that we could further support the Black Lives Matter movement. And we posted links to organizations that you could donate to support the movement as well. And I want to tell you what Wonder Spark is doing that we came up with in that time that we were brainstorming of how we wanted to be a part of this. And what we're going to be doing is we're partnering with some fellow puppet builders. I don't want to say who it is yet, but we're doing.
But it is very, very, very exciting.
It's very exciting.
Yes.
Some puppeteers of color, and then some puppeteers who have been a long time part of the protest movement, and we will be broadcasting, I think in the evenings, some workshops teaching people how to make protest puppets from materials that they have at home, and talking about their experiences being as a part of protests, and maybe their experiences being puppeteers of color. So we're giving platforms to some of our fellow puppeteers, and that will be hopefully starting next week sometime. We're very excited about that, and we're still in the midst of scheduling and organizing. But if you know anybody that you think should be a part of this, we're particularly looking for puppeteers of color who would like to be a part of it. But then also, if you are somebody or you know somebody who has been a large part of the puppet protest movement and they have knowledge to share, that's what we want to do, is disseminate knowledge to people to teach them how they too can make imagery, signs, banners, and large puppets to bring to these protests to then further the cause, to further spread the message and the wording of Black Lives Matter. So that is
Yay.
the thing that Wonder Spark Puppets will be doing starting next week. We're very excited about it. And we talked a lot about what our response could be, and I'm really pleased with this, and I think it's going to be really great. I can't wait. I'm going to learn a lot too.
Yeah,
So.
me too. I mean, like, I feel like there hasn't been enough protest puppets out there. You
Yeah.
know, like that's something that the Occupy, the puppets of Occupy Wall Street,
People's puppets.
Yeah, People's Puppets always had. They had Lady Liberty, and whenever you see the giant Statue of Liberty in your crowd of protesters, I mean, puppetry is a visual medium. You know, it says it all. You know, you don't have to have a clever sign. You got Lady Liberty marching with you, and it's awesome. So, yeah, I really feel like let's keep the momentum going. You know, like a lot of defunding for police happened today. Good. Now, like, let's keep the pressure on. You know, let's keep going. Let's keep showing up. So thank you to everybody who's been protesting. You guys are our heroes. And if this in any small way can help, or even help with future protests, then we're happy to provide a platform. And I'm very interested in these workshops, just too, like learning all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like what works.
Yeah, and also hearing from people, people's stories, because I know when I'm doing our workshops, sometimes I just tell some stories, while I'm cutting things out and, putting things together. And so I want this to be a platform for people as well, to be able to talk about some things. Now, while these workshops will be geared more towards adults, they will be okay for family audiences to watch. And we're going to review that with everybody before they go live. They will be broadcast live, because that's what we do, is live broadcasts. But they're going to be family friendly, but geared more towards an adult audience, which is why they're going to be in the evenings, if we can do the evenings. So
We'll see.
We'll see what works
So,
for everybody.
As soon as we know more, we'll let you guys know. It's in the works, but it's definitely something that even though we're in this tiny little white town where I grew up, we can still contribute in some way. That's the goal.
And we
Yes.
have a recommendation for Clay and Paper out of Canada, David
Toronto.
Anderson of Clay and Paper. So we will totally check that out. I don't know about Clay and Paper. And I do know of some of the Toronto puppet people, like Puppet Mongers, and Jamie Shannon is also out of Toronto. But I don't know about Clay and Paper, so we'll check them out.
Cool.
Cool. All right, so we got to Tuesday. So
we got to do
Wednesday.
I mean, every day it feels like a lifetime ago that we were in Queens, because it was like I was putting in like these really long hours of every single day. Even when I couldn't get the internet to work, I still was like, well, I'll just set up the stage, because there's nothing I can do right now. Thankfully, what was crazy was our landlords upstairs, Love Inc., agreed to upgrade their internet, because we could get this. It was Spectrum was offering this free Wi-Fi if you're within like a certain distance of a cell tower, which was cool. So we could kind of operate on that, but
it
we
was
were
unreliable.
It was interesting. Like because we're in a literal fallout shelter. If you go 5 feet to the left, your cell phone signal dies. 5 feet to the right, it's a little better. So it wasn't a long-term solution, and the upload speed wasn't where we wanted. Because I teach all these streaming workshops, and the first thing I tell everybody to do is go to speedtest.net, test your upload speed. You need at least 8.9 megabytes per second upload speed to have like a decent HD stream, and we were on like 3.
Yeah.
And then I tried another network, the one that we had Ethernet plugged into from upstairs, and it was 1, which is just like unbelievably bad. So upstairs agreed to upgrade their internet. I was like, great, but like back home, you would have to schedule things out with your internet provider like weeks in advance. Instead, Spectrum was like, yeah, we'll just come tomorrow.
Yeah.
We're like, wow, that's actually perfect.
It's the opposite of AAA. Remember we were talking about AAA, and it takes like, an hour or 2 for them to come out to like, like to service you out here.
I'm saying like back home, if you
I
call
know.
Time Warner Cable,
It takes a long time
you're like,
back
all
home.
right, it's going to be like in a couple weeks. Great.
But and in the city, if you call AAA, it's like immediate.
Yeah, so it's not the opposite of AAA. It's like it's just like AAA in the city.
But flip flop. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Just like
So,
AAA in the city.
They
Anyway,
came out,
yes.
It's like, thank goodness I could talk to a professional who was super helpful and knowledgeable and bitter. But that's like all tech people. It's just like, I don't know. He's on the phone with the supervisor, like, I don't know. It's going to be a double. Yeah, they got this old modem here. I don't know. Kind of like talking up, like, give me more money kind of a deal. And then he's like, I don't know, it's going to be a bucket truck situation. There's got to be more money.
Situation.
Yeah, so what they had to do to upgrade the internet was, he was like, look, he upgraded the new modem, but he's like, these things are chintzy and they're terrible, and it's not going to work unless you go up to the telephone pole out back, which is in between 2 trees hovering over a creek. So he's like, I ain't climbing that thing. Typical like smoking, you're like, I ain't climbing that.
Was he wearing a mask? Did he wear a mask
No.
at all?
Well, actually, yes, he did.
He did.
Yes.
Okay.
And a lot of people out here wear masks.
Yes.
The ones that don't really stick out. And I should say that we don't have to wear a mask to get from our car across the sidewalk 3 feet to get to the door into this place where we're all alone.
Yeah.
But we will anyway, because
we want people to see you wearing the mask.
And not everybody wears a mask out here. But back in Astoria, a lot of people weren't wear masks either. A lot of smokers and joggers and dog walkers and coffee drinkers.
Yes.
Especially. Were just like, but those are the same kind of people that would flick their cigarette on the sidewalk, or, like people who don't really care about themselves. Really, how you expect to care about others. Anyway. So anyway, we got the bucket truck. The bucket truck came.
It came.
The guy went up there, and this is how shady internet companies are in America. In the USA, we get terrible internet service, and we pay out the nose. So they had a data cap, which they called a filter, on the internet line coming into this building. So basically, he had to go up there, remove something. He called it like a filter or something, like boop, off the coax, because he unplugged the coax, removed something, and then suddenly, do you know what our internet speed became?
Amazing.
So before we were getting 8 megabytes per second download, 1 megabyte per second upload. Miraculously,
What is it?
like magic, he just always did one little thing. Suddenly we were getting 600 megabytes per second download speed.
600?
600.
Oh my God.
600. Could have had it the whole time. Nope, you got to pay at least $100 a month out here. 30 megabytes per second upload speed, which is great, which is like almost double what we had back home, which is like, it's such a lifesaver. And even though we were like down here inside the bunker, we could still get like half of that, which is what we needed.
Well, Jenny Rogers says, we tune in every Friday with my special needs grandson, and he is riveted to your puppetry and storytelling. Thank you.
Yay.
Well, Jenny, we got the internet to work for you and your grandson. No, I'm so touched. Honestly, we do a lot of work for special needs communities. I teach teachers and therapists how to use puppets with special needs kids and with neurotypical kids as well. So, we're so happy that the special needs community has found us and has been watching our shows. And please spread the word, because, we love to be able to reach kids like that. There is something really special with puppets and that kind of connection. So we're so happy that you're watching together.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
if you're riveted by every word I just said,
So that was Wednesday morning.
Don't scale your telephone poles looking for some kind of device.
I don't know, this
that
guy-
you could easily unscrew and
girl.
pull it up, or Google it first. Let's say Google it first.
Oh, she just showed him what I was watching, and he said it's Chad.
Yay!
Hi.
Hi. What is their name?
No name.
Oh, no name.
But Jenny
hi.
says just press the word.
Hi
Hi,
out
hi,
there.
Jenny's grandson.
Hi. Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah.
So it was crazy. We finally got once the internet finally worked. It was Thursday.
No, it was Wednesday.
It was Thursday because Wednesday we went live with the Spectrum Wi-Fi, which was like the free one. Thursday morning we
that's
finally
right.
got
You're right,
the guy
you're
to
right.
come out with the bucket truck.
God,
and when
that
that
was
melted,
Thursday.
I was like this clamped up stress ball, and I could finally
His name is Benjamin.
relax. And it just melted, and all the stress came out, and then I kept checking.
Yeah.
Like, is it still, like, I clicked on speed test, I don't know how many times.
'Cause we had
and
a-
then later in the day, check again, is it still good, you know?
We had a workshop, right, at 4 p.m. on Thursday that
Yes,
we had to stream.
But Friday is like our big
And Friday's
weekly
our
show
big day.
stream, so we had to get it done.
because we
by
wanted to make
Friday.
sure that we could go live for Benjamin. Hi, Benjamin.
Benjamin.
Hi. We're so glad that we were able to get it all figured out by Friday. It was a tense situation, but we got it.
Oh, it's
so,
crazy.
and we are so thankful to everybody who helped us out here.
Everybody. It's like
there was a big team.
You know, you're not an island. You know,
Yeah.
you're a group. It's a group situation. You know what? I didn't tell you this about it, but
Ooh, new news. Love new news
So,
live on the podcast with
wait-
all these people.
way out here in Western New York, we got there's a lot of
We do not talk like that out here
no,
in Western New York.
but about 50 miles south in Pennsylvania, in Pennsyltucky, as we like to call it, which is where
Only you call it that.
which is where a lot of my family is from, by the way, so I can say that because we used to go to family reunions and everybody's talking in big southern accents and offering you chaw and talking about trucks, and it's the total opposite of anything I care about.
Okay. Okay, Chad.
So this is truth.
I hope
This is
no
truth.
one in Pennsylvania is offended by anything.
Everybody in
that you're
Pennsylvania
saying.
knows. They know about the middle of the
It's
states.
a very big state.
in between Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. It's Pennsyltucky.
Pennsylvania.
It's
But
Pennsylvania.
okay. What are you gonna say about it? What
So,
are you saying?
Western New York, trying to find a radio station to play music that I like was near impossible growing up. Is still impossible now with few exceptions. But one of the interesting things I found was, you know, there's a lot of like preaching and God rock, Christian country rock and stuff.
Yes.
On Saturday morning when I was driving in to do a show, there was an audio drama happening, and I forget the name of it, but it was like a really well done audio drama about like young kids who are, you know, all voiced by like adult women voice actresses, and it was about like
oh wait,
this
was
one
it Christian?
yes
Oh,
and
it was
so-
on the Family Life Network.
Yeah.
I used to listen to this in my friend's car.
I loved it. It was so good. And it was about like this,
I
this
totally
kid
know
who's
what
just
you're
like
doing.
from the bad
Yes.
side of the tracks, and he's like,
Yes.
I wanted to test out this cylinder on this old viola, but old Mrs. Withers won't let me play it on her machine.
Yes.
Oh, I'm gonna kick something. And like his father figure's like, oh, gee, that's horrible. Oh, I hope you don't go do something rash, like go out and take it. That would be really bad. And he kind of slinks off. He's like, oh, I hate this. And then meanwhile at the treehouse, all his Christian friends are like, is he out sinning again? Oh, I really worry about him. We should do something. No, we should just let him be. You know, I don't want to hang out with him. No, we should. And then, you know, because you know the kid's going to go steal the old Victrola. Then his dad goes to talk to like Satan or something. It was like, whoa, this is getting way awesome. Where he's like, hey, I bet that kid's out there stealing the machine right now. Yes, good. Everything is proceeding according to my plan. I was like, yes, this is
be
the
a part
best.
of those.
Oh yeah, I was like,
my
oh, thank
goodness.
goodness. There's like this evil voice.
Oh my
I don't think that was named, but it was like, whoa, the dad is on Satan's side, but he's
Oh,
being tricked
goodness.
somehow. Like the kids are like the kids. So anyway, it was very interesting.
It's very
it was very
Davey.
dramatic and well done, and I was like, oh, I love it.
Yes, it's very Davy and what was that show with
Davey and Goliath.
Yeah, Davy and Goliath. It's
Yeah, the
very
claymation
Davy and
show.
Goliath. You know, my friend,
I wish I remembered the name of it because it was
Mindy.
so fun.
my friend Mindy, her father was very religious. I mean, I guess both her parents were, but her dad was super religious. And
Yes.
so the only radio station that we were allowed to listen to in the car when we went anywhere was Family Life Network. And so I got to hear a whole bunch of those
Wow.
audio dramas, especially on the way to and from Toronto. Woo, that was a long drive.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember. But you know what? I thought they were fun. I remember thinking they were fun.
They're dramatic. There was
Well-
the dad was definitely going to make sure that a bunch of rags were lit up with some kind of cleaning fluid that would cause a fire.
Oh,
and
no!
not only destroy the Victrola or whatever that the kid stole, which would make him lose his, like make him go even further down the pit of sin or whatever, but it would burn down the house.
This is very questionable.
Oh
This is
yes, and the evil demon was like, "Yes, burn down the house."
It reminds me of those little comic books that you would
Oh,
get at the
Chick
Chinese
Tracts.
restaurants. Well, in Hamilton, New York, you would get them in the Chinese restaurant.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Chick Tracts. Is that what they're called?
That's what they call the guy's
Okay.
name was Chick.
Oh, okay.
He was a
the little comics.
hardcore evangelist who
Oh, boy.
believed in all those things.
Well, yes,
So,
I think you have to if you're going to.
so anyway, I thought those were quite hilarious
boy.
and fun. And I don't know if you out there, if somebody could Google that, or if you know what I'm talking about.
Oh no, Family Life Network is a real thing.
Yeah,
they
it's
So
true.
Saturday morning. You
Saturday
said?
mornings, I think it was like
You could
9
watch
to
cartoons,
10.
or you could listen to some audio
Dude,
drama.
we gotta listen to this and giggle because as adults,
We're
it's
we're
really
not
fun.
being offensive. If this is the kind of thing that you listen to with your kids, that is great. We are accepting of everybody's beliefs as long as you're kind to people and you're accepting of everybody and all their differences, then awesome.
Oh
You
man,
know,
if we
but-
had this as a kid, I would have been way more into religion. Because with Sunday
well, as
school
long
was
as
just,
Satan was involved.
I mean, it was like cool. It was like, wow, his dad is bad. Whoa, like they never go into that. Like dad is bad. Turns out it's always like, gee, Jiminy Willikers, my son, you better turn to the Bible verse. Let me read it to
Oh,
you. And
boy.
okay, Dad, let's sing a song about Jesus. That's usually how that stuff kind of goes. But this was like, wow, evil dad's gonna burn down the house,
That's
but he's
crazy.
being manipulated by this evil force.
I don't know.
And the kids had to, the kids meddling in somebody
I
else's
feel-
life was gonna save the day.
Chad, I feel like you listened to a very special episode.
I hope every episode is like that.
It's
That's
very
why-
special.
In college, we used to watch Bible Man in college. We used to rent the DVD from Blockbuster because it was the most hilarious
I've never
thing
heard
in
of Bible.
the world.
I've never
Oh
heard of
my
that.
goodness!
But I think we should move
Ugh,
on and talk
that's
about.
so good. Bible
let's-
Man is you gotta all right. Just what go to YouTube.
Okay.
Bible Man.
If that's the type of thing that you're into, go for it. But we
all
are
right,
trying to.
imagine
We don't.
imagine if there were lightsabers and superpowers involved in that same kind of scenario, and that's Bible Man. It's
And
so good.
this Jewish girl is accepting of everybody and all your beliefs, all of it. You know.
Me too. If only there was this kind of level of entertainment in every single religion. Because when we went out to Thailand, we saw what was and Taiwan too. We saw like religious plays, but there was action,
Yep.
and they
Well-
understood. All right, to keep kids engaged, you got to have drama, you got to have action. Like
That too can happen in other religions here as well.
It's
Actually,
true,
I knew
but-
a rabbi in New York State. I don't remember where he was in New York State, but he went to the Sandglass Summer Institute with me, which is like a 3-week long program at that time, and he was doing beautiful, cool puppetry stuff with his synagogue,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Look at this. Jenny knows what I'm talking about. Bible Man. It's so fun and campy, especially the last season. Well, Bible Man's animated now, but they used to be dudes kind of like Power Rangers in like big rubber suits.
Oh,
But there's a
boy.
transformation, and the season that I watched, which was the best season.
Oh, it was a season. I thought it was a movie.
It's TVs,
Oh, we're
TV
back on Bible
shows.
Man. Okay.
But it got like more a bigger budget as it went along.
Okay.
But it also crashed and burned hard. But the last season was really great production value, which makes it even more fun.
Man,
and
I
funny.
totally missed Bible Man. I saw
We're
Davy and
gonna watch
Goliath,
it on YouTube after this.
which I really love Davy and Goliath, and I also
so
watched.
wholesome.
It was so wholesome. I
I
really liked
didn't even
it.
know it was religious. I guess the dad coming out and quoting like a Bible verse at
Well,
the end.
and they always said like it was released by the Church of Latter-day Saints, and I was always like, those people are so nice. Like that's what I always thought to myself, And actually, now I have a very good friend who is raised LDS, so Mormon. If you don't know what LDS is, but most people who are Mormon like to go by LDS, Latter-day Saints.
Right. The connotations are different.
Yes. And then what was I about to say? Oh, the other show that I watched growing up was had a puppet in it as well, because I consider claymation puppetry,
Yes.
stop motion animation. It was called Gerber, I think it was, or something like
The baby
this.
food company?
No, but it was. Maybe it wasn't called Gerber. Somebody would know. It was an orange puppet, Muppet style-ish, very like oblongish type of head, and it was just like this sweet little boy puppet, and he would always get into these predicaments, but he was very sweet. It was pre-VeggieTales, so it was like the same kind of,
Thank goodness for VeggieTales, because
Mm-hmm.
before VeggieTales, things were dark and not good in like religious entertainment, let's say, because we work in religious entertainment too. We do puppet shows for Jewish audiences. They're not specifically like quoting verses out of the Torah or anything like that. It's like as religious as you can get, but it's still about Jewish culture.
Yeah.
VeggieTales changed the game. VeggieTales and Bible Man were about the same era when they started.
I learned a lot about Christianity from VeggieTales.
You can learn a lot about
And my own religion.
the Old Testament, the Jewish half.
Yeah. Oh, Jenny says she doesn't know the one I'm referring to. I'm going to have to look it up, and we'll post a GIF of it or something. There must be something
There
out
are so many terrible
This one was not
religious puppet shows, or I should say...
This was remarkably good.
There have been a lot of what we used to call them like God puppets or something.
Church puppets. I always call them church puppets. But
yeah, where like the intent is there and the message is there, but the technique is bad and it's not appealing, and
you're all buying them from the same company.
Yeah,
kind of
and it doesn't look good. And I feel like a great thing would be, and I'm sure this happens more now, is if you're a part of a religious organization or institution and you want to reach the kids and puppetry is your jam, it's your medium, that you focus on technique as much as the message.
I can teach you an online course. Send me an email.
Yeah, right?
Because that's what I do. I teach people how to perform puppets and how to bring puppetry into your work. So if you know of a religious person who wants to bring puppetry to their religious organization, have them contact us, because I would love to teach your church school leaders how to utilize puppets.
Right.
Yeah, actually, I don't know if Becky Ray is still watching, but Becky Ray was watching earlier, and if you are, I love you so much, Becky Ray. Becky Ray was and is a very good friend of mine who was very religious when we first became friends, and she exposed me to the world of Southern Baptist religion, which I didn't know anything about.
Were you the first witch that she ever met?
Yeah, I was the first a lot of things that she had ever met, but we were good friends. And we still are good friends. And Becky took me to a Christian rock concert of this band called Third Day. Whew, that was awesome and uncomfortable, and I loved it. I love being in moments that are like uncomfortable for me, because it makes me think a lot about why it's uncomfortable for me and like what I could be doing better in my life to be more comfortable in a situation, and to like, I don't know, it just makes you think about things. I love being exposed to things I wouldn't normally be exposed to. So anytime Becky would say, well, I'm going to do this, do you want to come? I'd be like, yes, bring me. Because, I wanted to see it. So I went to a church service with her where people were like going up to the front and having their moments, and yes.
So the power of God, and they would.
It wasn't so much of falling over, but like if you felt compelled, please come up to the front and we will anoint you, touch your head or something, and like raise your hands. I went to a few different. Well, we definitely did that at the Third Day concert.
Yeah.
And I kind of a little bit. I was like, I don't really feel the power. But I was respectful of everyone around me. Like I didn't want to not participate and seem like I was disrespecting the moment, because a lot of people were really feeling some very strong things.
Yes.
And I saw like a video at this. I'd never been in a church where they showed video before. Like,
Oh, wow.
you have to understand, like, growing up where we grew up, the churches were cobblestone, 100-year-old at least buildings for the most part. Those were all the churches that my friends had ever brought me to.
Yeah, and
I'd
then-
never been to like a new age church.
right.
Where
like there are no rock bands.
no.
And no video screens, and one person on a piano or a pipe organ, maybe, and like a bunch of people singing.
A choir. Yeah,
Yeah.
there would always be a choir and some
That's-
robes. But
It's
this was
basically
different.
like the Dark Ages.
This was like, like new age. Like, I don't know. I'd just never seen anything like that. Like a new church, like a building that had been built just to be a church, but within the last like 10 or 15 years, with a huge projection screen and pre-recorded music. If they didn't have the band, like sing along with the bouncing dot kind of thing.
Like a lot of money went into this
Oh,
production.
yeah. So that was one church. And then another church we went to had, what was it? Like a whole youth area. It wasn't just like, because I'm used to like, okay, all the kids go down into the basement, or into the small room with the toys that everybody's donated when their kids were done with them, so they're half
Those
broken.
terrible toys.
Right. No. This was like Jesus Street. Like, no, literally. It was like a hallway that was made to look like an avenue. And then you would go into different rooms depending on your age. And it was like a live, like, sermon rock concert for all the different kids. And they had mini stages and like head mics and like projection screens in each room. And it was a part of the Young Life movement, I think is what it's called. And I was just like, whoa, I'd never seen anything like it. It was amazing. I have to go tuck in Ben. Thank you for the podcast. Yay. Good night, Ben.
No, it's
So anyway, that was
totally,
a whole rant, but it was so interesting.
compare that to any mosque in our city where it's just a plain empty room, and you just go in and you just pray.
Yes.
And that's it.
Well, as far as I know, I've actually never been in a mosque, but as far as I know, that's
I've never
what...
actually been in either because we've never been invited to one. But what I used to walk to work to the studio, and I used to pass by a mosque, and they keep their doors open during visiting hours, and you kind of peek in, and I'd seen like video of the inside of mosques and stuff, and just like, and that's the thing, it's like it's just an empty room. Sometimes there's like little prayer, like kneelers.
Yeah.
Or prayer mats or something.
Yeah.
But it's like that's the entire idea is it's like just to play an empty room.
And now I'm remembering the second church that went with the Jesus Street and Young Life and everything that was going on. It was huge. Like the sermon area for the adults was huge, so big that in fact they had 2 separate auditoriums. And so you would either go to auditorium A or auditorium B, and the pastor or whatever, the priest, whatever they're called, he would which one is it?
The band leader,
No.
rock star,
Well, the guy in
millionaire.
charge who's doing the sermon, whatever the religion is, whatever his name is, he would lead live in one room and be projected in the other one, and then he would switch so that the next day he would be in the next room, because there's so much overflow, so many people. It was.
This is what happens when you tell your congregation that they need to donate 10% of everything of like their income towards this mega church.
And then I heard about tithing. I'd never heard about tithing. I knew my friend Becky in grammar school. She tithed, but I didn't understand it. So, and then I told them, oh no, you become a member of the temple and then you pay like an annual fee. And they were like, what? You have to pay a fee to be a member? And I said, well, yeah, you don't have to, but then you get tickets for High Holy Days. And they were like, what? So it's all weird if it's not your thing, if it's your thing, then it's like, yeah, that's what you do, and then if it's not your thing, it's like, well, that's kind of strange. And, it's, but then you learn about it, you get used to it, and, and then it's like, yeah, that's what they do.
Yeah.
So
I wonder if like evangelicals have like the type of security that Jews in New York City have at some temples. Because if you have like that much money invested in something, like you probably hire security guards and metal detectors and stuff.
yeah, I don't
So
know.
I wonder,
I wonder
do we have
too.
anything like that around here in Western New York? Nope. Do we
You
have
know,
any? Do we have any Jews in
Well,
town?
hold on.
Don't
Let's
think
not
so.
be so judgy.
I'm not judging.
I think that there is
I
likely.
spent 18 years here.
My guess is that there is probably at least one church within the area that has a rock band.
No, the Baptist church
See?
that is now a theater had a rock band.
Uh-huh.
And when they moved into town and started the rock band, we were like, "Whoa, a rock band, cool!" And we actually went and saw them once. And I think the Baptists are still in town. But anyway, I was talking about security.
Yes.
But
yes.
yeah. Are there any Jews in town? Who knows? Do they have a temple in town? No, they
No,
do not.
they don't.
No, it's very scattered and sparse.
The one thing I have been to that was within an hour's drive was a Unitarian Universalist service that I think it was in Hamburg.
Isn't that redundant?
What do you
mean? Universalist Unitarian. It's a lot of unis.
Well, anyway, I like it because it's inclusive of everything, which is kind of how I am. I'm inclusive of everything, and I acknowledge everyone's beliefs. And you can believe nothing and still go to church. So you can be like, I don't believe in any of it, and they're like, we love you. So I think that's great, and I love that when you walk into the church, you see the flags and symbols of all the religions hanging up. Or at least all the major ones. And
that's interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And like they just sing songs that are very on the moment. Like it would be really nice to go to a service this weekend. It would have been nice to have gone to a service this weekend. Maybe I can find one that has streamed someplace, because I bet that they would have chosen some really wonderful music to sing and contemplate, and some poetry. They always incorporate poetry into the work, and it's not necessarily religious at all. It's like it could be from a musical.
Cool.
I went just after Trump was elected because I was in a really sad place, and I went with some friends, and it was really nice to be in a place where we're all grieving.
Yeah.
At that time. So
We're grieving again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we're happy to be here in this space.
Yay,
right
and everything works. It works, and the internet's up and running,
Yeah.
and we're streaming, and we streamed on somebody else's Facebook page earlier today. We streamed the other day. We've got a bunch of performances coming up. So
we're gonna have an Amazon wish list soon. With just some craft supplies, because we really couldn't pack a lot of things in our car. Like I said, we did one trip with just all the puppets and the stages and me and half of our pets. And then we came back, got the 2 kids, our cat, Chad, and then anything else we could fit in the car, and then came out here. So
a lot of things got left behind.
So I'm definitely like taking all the toilet paper rolls as they finish to the studio, and cereal boxes and things. But would love a whole ream of construction paper with all the colors. Right now we're working off of what Grandma had at the house, and like some pom-poms, some pipe cleaners, googly eyes, things like that.
Yeah, and the less amount of times that we have to go to Walmart for stuff, the better.
Yeah.
Because even though there's a mask policy in place for all these huge businesses, not everybody cares to wear masks. So,
Right.
But it's funny. It's like I went to Lowe's earlier in the day, and every single person inside the store is wearing masks. There's a big hand sanitizer cart like right up in front. And then you go to Walmart, and it's like 50-50. Like,
I don't know what the difference is there. They're both big box stores. But
it's the type of people that go to Walmart.
I don't know
think.
about that, but I don't know. I mean, I was at Lowe's today because it was my first time going to a store since March 16th. I have not been to a store since that time, and I was mostly outside because I was in the lawn and garden area. because I started a garden. I'm so excited. I bought 3 containers for some raised beds and got some soil, and we got some plants, and we're going to do our best and grow some cucumbers and tomatoes and eggplant and something else that I can't think of right now, but it's...
Well, we will tell you all about that next week.
Oh, well,
We've
we just started. It's very exciting, though.
Yeah.
I'm so excited about the garden.
Yay.
That's what
Good.
I did all day.
Yeah, so we're bushed. We're tired. It's been a crazy week. I raked the forest. She started a garden. It's been nuts. So I hope wherever you are that you're safe
Yeah.
and that you're trying to affect the world in a positive way with however you can, even if it's just like holding on to your core beliefs and voting in the upcoming elections. There's one on June 23rd for New York City, which did you get your absentee ballots?
We mailed it the other day.
Yeah, good job. You got to get that in quick,
Yep.
okay?
Yep.
But we are once again there it is down below if you're watching us online, the puppetparentpodcast.com. You can check out all of our old episodes. We're on Spotify, Overcast, Apple Podcasts, like all kinds of stuff. You can get links to those over at our website,
Yeah.
puppetparentpodcast.com. We're streaming every single Sunday live on our Facebook page, our Wonder Spark Puppets. We're also simulcast streaming to YouTube if you care to watch it on there. And if you need subtitles if you want to listen to a podcast with subtitles, those are auto-generating on Facebook, and I think YouTube does after it's live. So there's that. Yeah, I don't know.
Next week is Jungle Week for our puppet DIYs, so they will be jungle themed all week.
That's right. So
And our Friday show, have you decided what our Friday show is going to be?
Oh, we decided like what everything was way in advance.
I know, but can you announce it now?
Yes. So it's the Lion and the Mouse double feature with the tortoise and the hare.
Woot woot.
Z is going to be fixing a rabbit's foot
I
by
am.
Friday.
Yes, and think of all the lucky puns that you can incorporate with that.
This is true. And I'm looking forward to seeing more of our amazing performing partners' DIY workshop ideas. We're getting very close to 100 DIY puppetry workshops. We're thinking about a book.
Thinking about it, but
But at least all those are archived into playlists on YouTube. So if you want just like a smattering, like, hey, I just want 7, forest themed puppets, boom, we got you covered. Or circus, or like upcoming jungle.
And next Sunday, surprise special guest on our podcast.
Yes.
So stay tuned for that.
We've been putting them off for a couple weeks now.
Well, we just needed to get settled and get all our ducks in a row, and now they are. So quack quack, she'll be here next Sunday.
Okay, so thanks everybody for listening and watching.
We love you.
We will see you all very soon.
Bye.